Poštovani učesnici Kopaonik Biznis foruma, dobroveče. Vreme je da vam predstavim specijalnog gosta Kopaonik Biznis foruma. Ima veliku čast i zadovoljstvo da predstavim gospodina Ge-Juna, predsjednika i izvršnog direktora Toyota kompanije. Gospodin Ge-Jun se pridružio Toyota u aprilu 2019. godine i od tada vodi strategiju razvoja, poslovanja i upravljanja, korporativne i državne poslove, kao i strategiju globalizacije Toyota. Pre Toyota, Ge-Jun je radio za nekoliko Global Fortune 500 kompanija, uključujući Intel, Apple i Nvidia, kao njihov globalni potpredsjednik. Tokom svog boravka u tim kompanijama bio je zadužen za korporativnu strategiju i razvoj u Azijsko-pacifičkom regionu, uključujući Kinu, razne projekte u vrednosti od više desetina milijardi dolara i višestruke planove za istraživanje i razvoj, proizvodnju i marketing u Kini. Promovišući dubinsku saradnju između ovih kompanija i industrijskih lanaca u Kini, dao je doprinos razvoju nove oblasti Pudong, zapadna Kina, kao i revitalizaciji starih industrijskih baza na severoistoku Kine. Gospodin Ge-Jun ima diplomu doktora prava na Severozapadnoj pravnoj školi, Lewis and Clark College, MBA diplomu na Kineskom univerzitetu u Hong Kongu i LLB sa Istočno-kineskog univerziteta za politiku i pravo. Bio je direktor Američke privredne komore u Šangaju i gostujući profesor na Istočno-kineskom univerzitetu političkih nauka i prava i Istočno-kineskom univerzitetu nauke i tehnologije. Trenutno je gospodin Jun potpredsjednik Komiteta za socijalni rad za korporativno građanstvo, počasni predsjednik Jiangsu prekomorske asocijacije razmene i generalni direktor Šangajske asocijacije za prekomorske razmene. Od 2020. do 2021. godine dobio je brojne nagrade, uključujući Čovek godine u kineskoj privredi, najuticajnijeg izvršnog direktora i najuticajnijeg preduzetnika. Sa gospodinom Ge-Junom razgovarat će gospodin Igor Lukšić, bivši predsjednik Vlade Republike Crne Gore. Gospodo, izvolite.
Dobroveče. Good evening. Wan Sha Hao. All three languages. But we'll continue with English.
Your Chinese is improving.
My Chinese is improving. Thank you very much. It is really indeed a great pleasure to be part of the Kopaonik Business Forum, and I'm really pleased and grateful for the invitation sent by President Vlahovic. And I'm really impressed with the forum, and additionally, it gives me great pleasure and privilege to be on the panel and discuss certain aspects and topics with Mr. Ge-Jun, who has been just introduced to you very kindly. Aiming for a high-income economy, we've just talked about that. I like the title because the intonation is positive, because I always like to see things the story about half full glass and half empty glass. I think that it's very inspiring because it is about half full glass. Because another way to look at this is to avoid the middle income trap. So I think we need to see things in a more positive way, to reach for high income economies, and to be a high income economy, it means to be an innovative economy. It means to be to make sure that you have enough of endogenous factors that lead your growth. And I think China is a very interesting example, great actually example in many ways, how economy can transform and keep on transforming itself. And I'd like to discuss that in more details with Mr. Ge, because when you look at, for example, Millennium Development Goals, they were seen as broadly successful, because it helped eradicate extreme poverty. But actually, when you dig deeper, you find out that most of it goes to China. Most of the credit goes to China, because China has grown a lot. And then the overall standing has been very positive. But then look at SDGs, which is something we lag behind with. And it's actually only 3 SDGs that we are on track to meet some goals by 2030, but one of those goals is affordable clean energy. Dig deeper and we find out China, which has installed over the past 2 years more renewable energy capacities than America, Brazil, Germany, India together, and plus a way more than they combined. So we're talking about innovative economy, which is leading in many aspects, and I think it is a big privilege to have Mr. Ge tonight with us and to touch upon some of the issues which are very interesting, I hope. And I cannot but begin with the world trade, with the state of the world trade. Some 10 or 15 years ago, tariffs were the lessons you would usually skip because nobody was talking much about tariffs 10 or 15 years ago. But all of a sudden we find out that it is the most beautiful word in the dictionary, as put by President Donald Trump. So I'd like to hear your view about how you see the current moment. What do you think will happen next as far as the world trade is concerned?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very deep question, I would say, because trade, I think we're having some headwinds. Trade war, I think, is escalating, and certainly it impacts global business, impacts development. We actually don't need a trade war, but it's happening. It's really sad. But having said that, if you stand at 30,000 feet high, looking at trade, I think everybody would agree with me that trade is a good thing, actually. You know, I flew from Beijing here, taking Airbus. If there's no trade, I won't be able to take an Airbus to fly to Belgrade. And the trade actually helped those big multinational companies to become successful. I worked for these three major high-tech companies, and if you look at their business, all started originally in the US, but then expanded globally. And I think the underneath success is all about trade. And the trade actually created humanity. You know, we learn from each other, we develop our economy, all based on trade. So trade is a good thing. We really don't need a trade war. But if you look at the current situation, you know, we are raising tariffs. And the tariffs disrupted the global supply chain, which made the pricing of producing a product much higher, and which got transferred to consumers. Then consumers' consumption confidence will decrease, and which will impact investment and the capital flows and so on and so forth. So these, the trade wars actually are sending the global economy into the downturn. But I understand there's certainly reasons for those trade wars, but I think if you look at the bottom of this issue, it's all about interest. You know, whether this is a national interest, you know, national security or equality or competition, it's all about interest. And I think our human being has been intelligent enough to address those issues rather than using tariffs as a way of addressing those problems. So for me, I think, you know, discussing, negotiating can resolve those problems. Creating a small yard with a high fence, you won't get anywhere, and you will hurt yourself. You know, there's an old Chinese saying that you kill 1,000 enemies, and you wounded your own 800 soldiers. It's a lose-lose situation. So I think between China and Europe, I think, you know, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the diplomatic relationship for China and the EU. And I think there's a lot of common areas, you know, we can work with each other. You know, China is Europe's #1 trading partner, and Europe is China's second largest trading partner. So definitely we can work with each other. The economy is highly complementary. So, and certainly there's differences, but I think again, you know, we can resolve those problems by working together with each other and find a good solution rather than resolve to the wall, which hurts everybody. So I hope that that Europe and China will work together. So and we can find some common grounds. And I think the future is really about cooperation rather than the war against each other.
Well, whatever the underlying reality is, it obviously provides a lot of incentives to innovate and to adjust and adapt and try to do things different ways. During your professional career, and you mentioned multinational corporations, you used to work for Intel. You were supporting Tim Cook in developing business in China with Apple. Also NVIDIA, which is now one of the largest companies in the world. So then and now, or now and then, what is it you see has changed over the past 10 to 15 years? And based on that, would you be able to assess what comes next?
Yeah, definitely. The landscape has changed quite a bit. I worked for those 3 big multinational companies for over 25 years. And if you talk about Intel, Intel, I think Intel is still on the table. It's unfair to say that Intel is old story. Let's look at NVIDIA, because Intel is still producing microprocessors and the servers. All these products still power our computers and power our e-commerce and so on and so forth. But the lessons learned from Intel's so-called of getting less attention from people is that, it's still innovating, but it doesn't look at the new areas where the trend is going. If everybody is now adopting mobile solutions and Intel is still using desktop or laptop, certainly, nobody will treat that as a sexy product, right? But Intel is still innovating, and I think it's still one of the top 10 innovators in the world in terms of spending in the R&D. But lessons learned is that, the only paranoid to survive, which is the Intel founders' so-called norm of carrying on a business and stay relevant. Unfortunately, Intel, I think, hasn't been following where the trend is going. So I hope it will catch up, and I know that they are having a lot of new products coming, and certainly there's a lot of hope, from my perspective, the company should remain relevant and remain as a leading company in the world. Now, talking about Apple, I think 2018, it made itself as a $1 trillion company, and it keep on amazing people by delivering those interesting products. But I think people start to wonder where Apple is going. Everybody is talking about AI, and you see Meta, you see Alphabet, you see DeepSeek, these companies, and certainly OpenAI, they are generating a lot of interesting solutions and products. Where Apple is going, I think that's the question. And I hope Apple will also, continue to innovate. I think innovate is only the innovation that will keep the companies relevant. And interestingly, I probably you have read the news that Apple is going to invest $500 billion in the U.S. for next 4 years. I hope they are making a right decision, and I'm wondering whether that will work, because global supply chain and talented workers are all around the world, not just within the U.S. And investing that much in the U.S., whether it will help Apple to continue, to create interesting products, that's yet to be seen. NVIDIA, same thing. They are very innovative and came up with these very interesting products. But then all of a sudden, DeepSeek come out from China, which really disrupted their growth trajectory. And the stock basically reflected that. The question for them is again, how to continue innovate to become, to stay relevant. And certainly it has been doing a lot of things like merger and acquisition and so on and so forth, to maintain their technology leadership. At the same time, they want to expand their market coverage and also create a good ecosystem for them to grow. So all in all, what I'm saying is that technology is changing so rapidly. Whoever is relevant now probably won't be relevant tomorrow. So we really need to work together and to leverage each other's strengths and also the market strengths, so that the companies and the human beings can all benefit, not just the AI can benefit. So that's what I'm saying. I feel that moving forward, we still need to work together, no matter what. Technology has no boundary, so we have to work together with each other.
So if I asked you to use one word per each experience to describe it, would it be possible for you?
Yeah, from my personal perspective, I worked at Intel for around 20 years, and Intel nurtured me and helped me, support me, and gave me a lot of opportunities. I take Intel as a father, always reliable, always fair, always accountable, supportive, and which made me, successful in the early stages of my career. And Apple is like a girlfriend, it's amazing, it's beautiful, it's giving you delight, that kind of company.
You're not sure what it does next?
Yeah, and it's mysterious as well, like a girlfriend. So, and NVIDIA, one word, I would say it's like a brother, maverick, very brave, quick action, and low patience. And you fight with your brother, that kind of stuff. But in terms of their business philosophy, I think each has their own strengths. Actually, Intel has been working based on Moore's law, and over the last 40, 50 years, worked relentlessly in the microprocessor area. Unfortunately, this AI thing came up out of their blue. Basically, they didn't recognize that it will take over the world. And I still remember at the time when we were talking about Apple, and Intel said, Apple, well, their iPad is nothing, PC is it. Nobody would take an iPhone or iPad as a working tool. But unfortunately, it happened. Yeah. So that, I think, really is a lesson, I think, for Intel. And Apple certainly is in the same shoes, I guess, because iPhone is the thing, that generates so much revenue for it. But what's the next one? Everybody expecting a new product, a new category, and whether it's robots or whether it's something else, I think it's yet to see, because they tried very hard to have a driverless car on the market. Unfortunately, it's dissolved the team. So, yeah, I think.
So despite the big ones,
yeah.
Trying to solve the problem of the creative destruction by taking over those very talented ones, creative destruction goes on. It's impossible to solve it for good. I mean, sooner or later, something will come around the corner which will take everybody by surprise.
Yes, yeah. Especially nowadays, technology develops so fast, and you never know what will happen tomorrow. The cycle of technology development has been significantly shortened by the AI, the deep learning. So we will see.
And then after 25 years spent in such large companies, all of a sudden to Joy. I mean, to many people it was a surprise. Back then, 2019, well, probably it was not the first thing that would come to your mind that Joy is a digital company. But now, 5-6 years after, big data, artificial intelligence, very much digital and so on. But going back to 2019, how come? What brought you to Joy?
Yeah, certainly I think, 25 years working for multinational companies, I got a little bit bored. I want to do something more interesting, something new, something that can make a difference. And I've been saying that China, the next China is China. 2019 people were saying, okay, who will be the next China? Because China has been on this development trajectory for so long, and everybody was thinking, whether there will be a new country coming up, and I thought next China probably still China, because if you look at the market size, 1.4 billion consumers and 400 million young consumers. The market is so big, and there's so many opportunities to be addressed, leveraging my experience. And certainly over the last 5 years or so, there's a pandemic, there's a lot of things, but still I think China is developing, and hasn't disappointed me actually, by moving from a huge multinational company to a medium-sized Chinese company. But there's something in this company. It's a very interesting company, platform company. I worked for these 3 big platform companies. I take Intel as a platform. I take Apple as a platform, because it helps all the apps developers, to leverage the hardware and make their own business successful. And NVIDIA definitely is a platform company. It's a supply computing powers to all kinds of different companies. And Joy is also a platform company, emerging. Its business model is so unique that amazed me so much. I said, I got to leave NVIDIA and join this company immediately. The business model, I can use maybe 1 or 2 minutes to introduce. It is a big data company, basically. And it's a platform connecting innovative companies with the resources from those traditional businesses across the country. We have around now 5.5 million traditional business owners on our platform seeking innovative projects to cooperate with. And by providing this platform, online and offline, we connect those innovative companies with the resources from 5.5 million traditional business owners across Chinese provinces and all those cities. And that model is so powerful. We can turn creative ideas into a very successful business by connecting this kind of business with millions of Chinese business owners. So they can be their channel partners, they can provide the resource to support those innovative companies, and they can provide application scenarios for them. They can be basically a local franchisees for this kind of innovative companies. So our business now is like we are creating unicorns. And just a couple of days ago, we created a unicorn by listing accelerated companies in NASDAQ, So that actually inspired me so much. I thought, after 25 years, I want to move on to a China-based company, and I want to create more like a China Apple, a China Intel, or a China NVIDIA by leveraging this platform, by amass all these resources we can get from these 5.5 million business owners. And we are getting there, actually.
It's really fascinating, especially the fact that just several days ago, last week, one of the companies that had been accelerated, but Tujoy ended up being listed Nasdaq in America. And I'm mentioning this on purpose because, yes, it's American, Chinese company, American Stock Exchange. So it's not impossible. It's not part of the past, despite all these issues and troubles, and maybe trade wars, tariff wars, and so on. It's still happening. And as far as I understand, there are some in the pipeline. Maybe even more companies will end up being listed in the Western markets, which is really fascinating. It tells a lot about the success of the business model of Tujoy. But how do you see, current path versus future path? Because I remember first time I got to know Tujoy was 2018, so even 1 year before you. So 2018. But in the meantime, there was pandemic, and it hit hard. The impact was quite deep. But out of it, kind of, in the way I see it, Tujoy has discovered second curve, second growth curve. So what do you think comes next for Tujoy?
So that's a very good recap of the development history of Tujoy. So initially, it's an offline company, basically. We organize 100, 200, 300, 400 conferences connecting those projects and the resources, the innovative companies, and the traditional businesses. The pandemic hit, and we basically turned it into an O2O company. Because of the pandemic, people couldn't leave their home, but business people still want to do business. So we encouraged all these business people to get online. And now, as I said, we had 5.5 million business owners on our platform, which is called Boss Cloud. So they come on, become the members of our Boss Cloud. And then all of a sudden, it created a huge perspective of new capabilities. Because they are online, and we can satisfy one kind of their needs, which is finding innovative companies so that they can partner with, they can work with, then they can get a second curve of growth, for these traditional businesses. But now, all of a sudden, we leveraging this online capability, we start to introduce new services to these business owners. Whether it's travel, so we have Tujoy Aviation, so we have commercial jets, we have drones, and we have helicopters, these kind of services for these business owners. And only, I think, the business owners will be able to afford this kind of lifestyle for traveling. And then we started to open health and wellness business for these people, since they spend a lot of time do business and sacrifice their health. Now they are rich, they want to improve their health conditions. Then all of a sudden, we start to basically gather all the interesting health and the wellness services on our platform. Then we offer these kind of business to our entrepreneurs. So right now, our main business is still, we call it 1+N. One innovative companies plus N business owners, so we can turn an innovative project into a unicorn. So this is our main business of the current situation. But moving forward, I think it's still 1+N. One is the big data of our entrepreneurs and the business owners. In China, we have 50 million business owners. So we still have a lot of headrooms to grow. But our core is our big data of the business owners. Then we will have N, still 1+N. N is all kinds of needs we want to satisfy these business owners. So moving forward, we will probably get into financing, education, tourism, whatever. As long as they need it, we can get the resource, get the service providers, come on our platform, and then we can offer these good services to our entrepreneurs or business owners.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we mentioned some of the companies that had previously been accelerated by Tojoy ending up being listed in some of the in the world stock exchanges. But Tojoy itself is getting ready for the IPO. What change will it make? That's one thing. Another thing is how, I mean, is it possible to replicate that platform elsewhere? Not by pursuing only separate projects, but replicate platform itself.
Yeah.
Would it be possible after Tojoy getting listed?
So yes, Tojoy is on its way, to go into the capital market probably. We believe that going to the capital market will help us to be more sort of trustworthy. As a public company, and you do regular how to call it, disclosure of the company performance and so on and so forth. So a lot of, we can have more innovative projects coming to our platform, and we can get the more traditional business owners coming to our platform to seek opportunities as well. So going to the capital market will address that needs. But I think the main reason for us to go to the capital market is to enable us to become a more international company, so that we can get a Serbian-based innovative projects into China, leveraging our platform, and then we can help them to penetrate into the Chinese markets very quickly by forming that kind of partnership between a Serbian project and the Chinese business owners across the country. And also we want to introduce our projects into different countries. And actually this time, I brought 3 innovative projects from China to here, and they are eager, to find partners here. So by being a public company, people can get more information from us, and certainly we will be more transparent and more in compliance with the laws and the regulations, and certainly we will attract more business opportunities. I think that was the entire intention to bring the company into the capital market and get listed. Yeah. And certainly I want to make sure that the company can grow bigger and grow faster, and our model can be proliferated across the regions. And you mentioned a good question, whether we can replicate this kind of business model in this region. I think in theory, yes, but probably won't be that massive. Our business is really massive right now across the country. 5.5 million entrepreneurs and the business owners on our platform, and I think here probably you don't have that big audience.
It is realistic that it cannot be as massive as it is in China, but some of the issues that entrepreneurs face in China, they also face, for example, in countries of the region. For example, some of the companies, very successful business models, are unable to move forward and develop further because either banks are not willing to support more, or capital markets are relatively thin and so on, and shallow. But maybe platforms like this, because Tojoy is essentially a B2B, business-to-business platform, could actually operate probably in other places. Maybe after it goes public, it could be maybe more accessible, easier for some people to understand, and maybe figure out who might be good partners.
Yes,
other places.
Yes. I think for innovative companies, regardless whether this company is based, they all need 2 things, in order to become successful. One, of course, is the capital. Initially, you need to raise capital and prove your business works, and you need to spend. But once you have proven that business model works, then you need resources actually to grow the company. And then, normal way of getting that resources is continue to find those fundings, right? But the funding, these companies would say, okay, when you will go to the capital market, what my returns would be, and so on and so forth. So force these kind of innovative companies to do very strange things in order to get the company listed, so the investors can benefit from the listing and the exit, right? But the funds won't be able to help the company to find, say, for example, sales channels, find the local connections so that business can get penetrate into that location. Say, for example, I'm a robot company and very innovative, created those robot arms, but I need applications. I need those factories that can use my robot arms. But for an innovative company to find those applications, it would be very difficult. But the local partners can help. So by giving them the resources, these companies can grow. So what Tujoy is doing is really addressing the resource supply to make sure that innovative companies, once they have already proven that their business works, then they will become quite successful, leveraging the resources we provide.
Definitely. And talking about entrepreneurs, have you noticed some some differences between entrepreneurship in China and, for example, United States, and maybe some cultural differences? And adding to that, what would be your major advice to both sides of the aisle? I mean, Chinese entrepreneurs going abroad, and, for example, entrepreneurs from these parts wanting to go to China.
In fact, I think entrepreneurship is the same, whether this is China or this is outside China. Entrepreneurship is all about seeing something other people cannot see, doing something other people dare not to do, and give up something where other people probably won't be able to give. And that's entrepreneurship, and I think that's common everywhere, whether it's US or Serbia or China. But there are indeed some subtle differences. The national characteristics or national characters are different, and the economic development stages are different, and the business environment is different, where these differences dictate some of the entrepreneurship differences. And I have some interesting observations, if I compare China and with US. I think in the US, entrepreneurship is all about starting a business, whether it's successful or whether this is a failure. People will take a failure as a part of success. And if I'm an entrepreneur, I started business and it failed, probably tomorrow I will write a book and tell the world that I failed. It's not a shame. But in China, you started business and didn't get successful, you felt that you are not so, you probably will be ashamed by other people, okay, you failed. But I think things are changing. Right now in China we have at least 150 million people starting their own business. Private sectors are really booming, so it's no longer a huge issue if you fail your first attempt to be an entrepreneur. Now, second thing is about government support, the environment you are in. I think in the US, it's a free market, government that do less. They come up with the regulations and everybody is about their own business, to either create a company or do something. But in China, government plays a huge role. You probably all heard about 6 small dragons in Hangzhou city, and amazed the entire capital market. In China, now there's a terrific 10. They call in the US you have Magnificent 7, which are quite successful. Now, terrific 10 of China, now their stock price growth rate is much higher than the Magnificent 7. So, but if you look at their success behind, government plays a huge role. They give incentives, they do government purchasing, they give them all kinds of supports, free rentals and things like that. And I see a little bit of that in Serbia as well. You give a lot of tax incentives, you create zones and try to help these companies to grow. And I think probably that's a good way, keep on doing that. But China, comparing with the US, entrepreneurship got a lot of support from the government. And the third one is, of course, the acceleration. And I think a two-joy model probably never worked in the US. You don't have so many entrepreneurs or traditional business owners who want to support an innovative project, right? And then I think, capital market, China hasn't been that well developed in terms of funds, and the U.S. probably is still the center of that. But one thing I think which is very different probably in the U.S., innovation a lot of times goes to very basic research, where in China, given the market is so big, application of the technology becomes the focus of innovation, becomes entrepreneurs' key areas of focus. And I think application is not bad. You have the basic technology, you still need applications. And I think for smaller markets, you have the innovative capability here, but you need application, you need markets. And I think Serbia definitely is a place of innovation, and China is the market. And I hope that there's some synergy here where the two countries can even work closer in the high-tech area.
Very good. With 6 minutes to go, do we maybe have a question from the audience? It's hard to see because we are light baiting right now.
Yeah, but I still owe you the question about the advice, to businesses going to China, how to become successful, and the Chinese company coming out of China, how to become successful in a foreign country. I think it's all about three things, to do. One is, of course, you need to understand the orientation of the drift, which means that you have to understand the policy, understand where the country is going, and what areas the government has been encouraging people to do. Orientation of the drift, that we call it. 天时, you need to understand where the heaven is playing, what the heaven is playing, where the heaven wants you to go, and who is the heaven? Of course, the government, right? So you need to understand that. Second is about 地利, we call it advantages of zones. You need to go to the right place. Whether it's in China, whether it's Beijing, Shanghai, or Shenzhen, or you need to go to tier 2, tier 3 cities. There's a lot of different types of people and incentives available in different locations. And the third one is really about people, a accord of people, harmonious relationship you formed with your people. And in Intel, in Apple, in NVIDIA, I always advise the top leaders and the board members that you need to be in, with, and for that locations where you do business. You must be personally in there, working with the people there, and even high local people, and you need to work for them. By working for them, you work for yourself. And I think that plays out very well in China, and I think it plays out very well outside China as well.
Very good.
You need to have that kind of mentality and the willingness to give at the beginning, and then you can become successful.
I think it's a major advice, and I hope people will listen to it. So, is there a question? Yeah. I think we have probably time for one question, please. Go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah, I spoke too fast.
No worries.
That. I know time is limited.
First of all, thank you very much for an insightful presentation. I personally come from the asset management background, and I see you help the businesses scale up in China, and I think there's a lot of potential from investors from abroad to then invest in these businesses once they reach a certain level of development. So Maybe out of my ignorance, I'm not understanding very well how can that happen due to the more complex IPO setup in China, or generally the reach out on the international level. So maybe through your platform, there is some kind of a synergy that can be achieved in this direction. But my question goes to you, how can this be done?
Yes, we have been working with a lot of international investors who actually are interested in investing in Chinese innovative ecosystems and innovative companies. And we do a lot of incubation and acceleration, and each year, we work with around 200 or 300 innovative companies. And certainly we can recommend all these, and also create the path for you to successfully invest in, and at the right time you exit from China. China is still a foreign exchange controlled country, but there's a lot of mechanisms already in place where you can get your funds in quickly, easily, and then convert it into the local currency so that you can invest into the company. And then at the right time when the company get listed, say for example, NASDAQ or Hong Kong Stock Exchange, then you can exit from there. So opportunities really a lot, I would say. And I would welcome, to exchange new ideas with you to see whether we can help you to do that. Yeah.
Thank you. So let's imagine we are tasked to identify 1 or 2 project ideas to look for, to try to accelerate. And I'm talking about cooperation between European and Chinese entrepreneurs. Where would you take a look? What would you try to search for?
You mean the projects?
Generally speaking, some fields.
Yeah, fields.
Not concrete ones.
Yes, I think nowadays AI certainly is a very hot area. If there's some good AI-based business models and the solutions, we definitely would like to take a look. And then green economy, health and wellness, I think even services like medical services, treatments, we would love to take a look. Yeah.
Very good, very good. Well, for example, one of the companies, one of the business owners who was in the panel today, Jifu, it combines AI with the plastic clothing industry. So hopefully maybe next year, Kopani Business Forum will have one booth where we can all take 3 photos and maybe order some suits or some other clothes, pieces of clothes.
Yeah. It's really a disruptive project, and the owner actually is here. Founder is here. By taking 3 photos in an unmanned booth or a kiosk, your body gets measured precisely. There's 800 points of measurement. If you go to a traditional tailor, the data they gather from measuring your body probably is 8 or 10, but this one is 800. So precise your body shape, and then it analyzes it. Then we'll introduce you, how to make a suit, what kind of styles you want, and then in China within 7 days you get a suit perfectly matching your body size. Now, it's not just the suit, it's also about the shirt and everything. So this is really a big data, AI, and traditional business model combination. And it will disrupt totally the traditional tailoring business, as well as, I think, the general clothing business. So we are very happy to introduce this kind of opportunities of cooperation, to the partners here, so that they can set up their business in China, in this part of the world.
I'm sure you didn't count, but I had 9 questions. Chinese name of Tuzhou is Tianqiu, which means literally 9th heaven. So that's why 9 questions. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been really great pleasure to have this conversation tonight. Mr. Gejun.
Thank you so much.